In the quiet moments of life, when the noise fades and stillness returns, there is a simple but powerful truth waiting to be remembered. You are capable of amazing things. But why do so many people forget this truth? It is not because they lack strength. It is because they have forgotten how to access it. Like a sword that has not been drawn for many years, the inner potential becomes hidden, not broken. What you are seeking is not something outside of yourself. It is already there waiting in your breath, in your awareness, and in the discipline you choose each day. Many people walk through life thinking they are ordinary. They accept limits created by fear, doubt, or past failure. But the seed of greatness lies in every human being. The only question is, will you cultivate it? You must understand, the body is trainable, the mind is moldable, and the spirit is limitless. And when these three come into alignment, when your actions match your purpose, and your thoughts are guided by clarity, you become a force that cannot be stopped. It is not a matter of motivation alone. It is a matter of discipline, of showing up, of facing yourself without distraction. It is in those moments when you choose growth over comfort, silence over chaos, and progress over perfection, that your transformation begins. So today, we do not speak just to feel inspired. We speak to awaken something deep within, a strength that has always been yours, a strength that reminds you, you are capable of amazing things. In the quiet space between our thoughts and our breath, there is an awareness that very few people notice. It is the place where clarity lives. Most people spend their lives running from one moment to the next, reacting to what happens, chasing things they think will bring them happiness or worth. But in doing so, they forget to stop, they forget to listen, and more importantly, they forget to look within. When you pause and observe your own life, not with judgment, but with honesty, you begin to see a simple truth. The limitations you believe in are often illusions created by your own mind. This is why the beginning of any transformation must come from stillness, not from loud promises or emotional bursts of motivation, but from a deep recognition of what is real. And what is real is this: you are not broken. You are not weak. You are not meant to remain as you are. There is something extraordinary inside you. It does not need to be added. It needs to be uncovered. But to uncover something, you must first become still enough to feel it. The modern world rewards speed. It rewards distraction. It keeps you busy so that you forget your power. But ancient wisdom has always taught the opposite. In the Shaolin tradition, the path to mastery does not begin with action. It begins with awareness. It begins with the question, who am I without the noise? Who am I when I remove the masks? And in this space you may discover something you've forgotten, that your potential is not something you have to earn. It is something you already carry. When you start from this understanding, everything changes. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You stop relying on motivation to push you forward. You begin to live intentionally. You begin to walk a path that is not about proving something to others, but about becoming fully present in your own journey. This presence, this state of being fully here, is where your strength lies. Because in this state, there is no room for excuses. There is only truth, and truth is simple. You are capable of amazing things, not because someone else says so, but because the very nature of life is transformation. Think of the seed. It holds within it the pattern of the tree, the fruit, the shade, the roots. Everything is already there. But without the right environment, without care and discipline, it will never grow. You are the same. You hold within you the pattern of your greatness. But without the proper environment, without the right habits, without the right thoughts and actions, it remains hidden. This is not a punishment. It is simply nature. What you nurture grows. What you ignore withers. So, the question is not whether you are capable. The question is whether you are willing to see yourself clearly, willing to face the parts of you that you have avoided, willing to rise again after failure, not because it is easy, but because it is necessary, because every step you take in the direction of your higher self brings you closer to the life that was meant for you. And this is not something you do once. This is something you commit to daily. Discipline is not a punishment. It is a form of love, the kind of love that holds you accountable, that reminds you of your strength when you've forgotten, that pulls you forward when your mind tells you to stop. And this is something no one else can do for you. The world can support you, teachers can guide you, but the decision to grow, to train, to focus, to become, that is yours alone. And that decision begins with a quiet moment of truth, a moment where you no longer seek validation, a moment where you no longer hide behind fear, a moment where you stand exactly where you are and say, "This is where I begin." From that point, the journey is not about perfection. It is about progress. It is about showing up, about making small choices again and again until they form a path. The mind will try to distract you. The world will test your resolve, but these are not obstacles. These are your training grounds. The tests do not come to break you. They come to shape you, and each one is an invitation to remember who you are and what you are capable of becoming. There is no need to wait for some future version of yourself to appear before you take action. The strength you seek is already in you. It is waiting behind the resistance. It is waiting beneath the excuses. It is waiting in the quiet decision to start now, not when you feel ready, but because you choose to. And in that choice, you unlock a power that no one can give you and no one can take away. Every human being is born with the capacity to evolve, to stretch beyond what seems possible, to grow beyond what they once believed to be their limits. But growth is not something that happens by accident. It is a result of deliberate effort, consistent choices, and the willingness to face discomfort without running from it. When you observe nature, you see that everything that grows must first go through resistance. The seed must break before it sprouts. The caterpillar must dissolve before it becomes a butterfly. There is a necessary breaking that happens before transformation. And yet, when people feel pain, they often think something is wrong. They retreat, they stop, but pain is not the enemy. Pain is the process. This is why many people never reach the potential that lives inside of them. Not because they are incapable, but because they avoid the very challenges designed to awaken that capability. A muscle grows when it is placed under tension. A mind expands when it is pushed beyond familiar thinking. And the spirit strengthens when it is asked to endure what seems unbearable. What breaks you is not the weight of life, but the decision to carry it without presence. Presence changes everything. It transforms struggle into training. It turns chaos into clarity. But presence cannot be forced. It must be practiced. To live with presence is to live with awareness, to not just act, but to observe the action. To not just speak, but to be mindful of the words. To not just train the body, but to train the attention that moves with the body. Many people move through life disconnected from what they are doing. Their mind is somewhere else. Their attention is scattered. Their focus is weak. And where there is no focus, there can be no power. Focus is not simply about concentration. It is a way of living. It is about removing what is unnecessary. It is about aligning your energy with your purpose, and that alignment cannot happen if your attention is constantly hijacked by distraction. The world you live in today thrives on distraction. Your phone, your thoughts, your environment, all of it competes for your attention. But you must protect your attention as you would protect your breath, because where your attention goes, your life flows. If your attention is on fear, you will move with hesitation. If your attention is on anger, you will act with aggression. But if your attention is on discipline, on clarity, on truth, you will act with power. Not the kind of power that dominates others, but the quiet, inner power that remains calm in chaos and steady in storms. Training your attention begins with small acts. Waking up at the time you said you would. Completing the task you wanted to avoid. Showing up to your practice even when your mind gives you reasons to stop. Each of these moments is an opportunity to shape yourself, not in the physical sense alone, but in the deeper sense through character, through integrity, through alignment. And with each moment of discipline, you begin to change. Not because the world outside of you changes, but because your relationship to yourself deepens. You begin to trust yourself again. That trust is not built through words, it is built through action. When your body sees that your mind is leading with intention, it begins to follow. When your actions reflect your values, your spirit becomes strong. And when your spirit is strong, there is very little that can disturb your peace. This is not the absence of difficulty, but the presence of resilience. Resilience is not something you are born with. It is something you cultivate. It grows when you stop avoiding struggle and start embracing it as your teacher. In the Shaolin tradition, struggle is not seen as something to escape. It is seen as the path itself. When a student enters the temple, they are not taught to avoid discomfort. They are taught to meet it, to bow to it, to thank it, because discomfort is the fire in which weakness is burned away. Without this fire, the sword remains dull, the body remains soft, the mind remains distracted, and the spirit remains asleep. But through practice, through repetition, through the willingness to stay with the process even when it is hard, the transformation begins to unfold. It does not happen in a dramatic moment. It happens quietly, over time, through small, consistent choices made every day. Choices that reflect your higher values, not your temporary feelings, because feelings come and go. Motivation rises and falls, but your values remain, your purpose remains, and if you anchor yourself to that purpose, if you return to it again and again, you will begin to notice a shift, not just in how you act, but in how you perceive. Life will still bring challenges, but you will meet them with strength. Not the strength of arrogance, but the strength of understanding. The understanding that you are being shaped for something greater. That every step you take with awareness is a step toward your highest self. Most people measure their ability based on what they have already done. They look at their past actions, their past results, and from this, they create a ceiling for their future. But the mind, when left untrained, has a tendency to limit what is possible. It pulls from memory, it holds on to fear, and it avoids anything that might lead to discomfort. And yet, your future is not written by your past. Your future is shaped by your willingness to expand beyond it. You are not bound by the version of yourself you used to be. That version was only a step in your evolution, not the destination. When you begin to understand that growth is not a single moment but a continuous unfolding, you stop trying to reach some fixed point of success. You begin to see that the real reward is in the process of becoming. You shift your focus from results to effort, from perfection to presence, from comparison to commitment. This shift is subtle, but it changes everything, because now, instead of asking whether you are good enough, you begin to ask whether you are growing. And growth, unlike talent or luck, is always within your control, but growth is not comfortable. It challenges every part of you. It asks you to face parts of yourself that you have ignored. It brings you into direct contact with your fears, your doubts, your limitations. And that is where most people stop. They take discomfort as a sign to retreat. They think that struggle means they are on the wrong path. But struggle is often a sign that you are exactly where you need to be. Because what is being challenged is not your worth. It is your willingness to evolve. Every time you meet resistance, you are being invited to sharpen your awareness, to refine your focus, and to strengthen your discipline. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you can become. It is not just about doing hard things. It is about doing the right things consistently, even when they are hard. It is the decision to act in alignment with your highest values, not your momentary emotions. Because emotions are temporary, they are influenced by weather, by words, by memories, but values are chosen, they are stable, and when you live in alignment with them, you begin to build a foundation that is unshakable. One of the greatest misunderstandings is that people think they need motivation to act. But motivation is like the wind. It comes and goes. If you rely on it, you will only move when it is convenient. But your potential does not live in convenience. It lives in consistency. It lives in the quiet, often unseen moments where you choose discipline over distraction, growth over comfort, and purpose over pleasure. Those moments are where character is built, and character is what carries you when the journey becomes difficult. There will be times when the path feels unclear, when progress feels slow, when your efforts seem unnoticed. But this is not failure. This is the space where real transformation begins. Because when you continue despite doubt, despite fatigue, despite fear, you begin to rewire your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries. You begin to see yourself as someone who persists, and persistence, when grounded in purpose, creates momentum. It may be slow at first, but it builds, and with time, that momentum becomes unstoppable. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. If you train yourself to be fully present in the small tasks, how you wake up, how you breathe, how you speak, how you think, you are preparing yourself to be fully present in the big ones. Greatness does not come from dramatic acts. It comes from small decisions repeated over time with intention. These decisions, though simple, are powerful. They shape your habits, and your habits shape your life. So the question is not whether you are capable of amazing things. The question is whether you are doing the small things that make amazing things possible. You do not have to look far for proof of your strength. Every time you've faced difficulty and continued, every time you've felt fear and acted anyway, every time you've been tempted to quit but chose to stay, you have been building that strength. The mind may forget, but the body remembers. The spirit remembers, and every moment you show up, you are adding to that memory. You are telling yourself, not with words but with action, that you are someone who chooses growth, and that choice, repeated enough times, becomes a way of being. Your potential is not something you chase. It is something you activate. It is already in you, waiting to be awakened through focus, through effort, through consistency. This awakening does not require perfect conditions. It requires your presence. It requires your willingness. It requires your trust, not in the outcome, but in the process, because the process is what shapes you. It refines you. It prepares you for more than you thought you were capable of. Every day, whether we realize it or not, we are training something. We are either training our strength or our weakness. We are training discipline or distraction. We are training clarity or confusion. The life you live right now is a reflection of what you have been practicing consistently. And so the question is not whether you are practicing, but what are you practicing? This awareness is essential if you wish to rise beyond your current state. Because your habits are not just actions, they are expressions of your identity. The way you move, speak, think, and respond, these are not random. They are the result of what you've allowed to repeat. The mistake many people make is waiting for motivation to act. But waiting is a habit, and like all habits, it becomes stronger the more you feed it. So every time you say, "I'll start tomorrow," you are not just delaying an action. You are reinforcing a belief that you are not ready, but readiness is not something that arrives. It is something you create by taking action before you feel fully prepared. Action leads to clarity. Movement reveals the path, and commitment sharpens your focus. This is why training is so vital, not training for a specific outcome, but training as a way of living, a way of refining who you are with every choice you make. When a student enters the Shaolin Temple, they are not asked to prove themselves with words. They are asked to show up, day after day, in stillness, in silence, in repetition. There is no shortcut to mastery. There is no secret to unlocking potential. There is only the willingness to meet the same task again and again, with a deeper sense of presence and a stronger sense of purpose. And in this process, the student begins to change, not because someone told them they were strong, but because they discovered their own strength by going through the process. The transformation does not happen in an instant. It happens gradually, slowly, quietly, like a mountain being shaped by wind and water over time. This kind of transformation requires patience, but patience is not passive. It is active stillness. It is the ability to stay centered even when progress feels invisible. In a world that rewards speed, the patient person holds great power because they are not rushed by the opinions of others. They are not shaken by temporary discomfort. They know that the deeper the root, the stronger the tree. So they keep showing up, they keep training, and through this repetition, they begin to embody a new version of themselves. To become who you are capable of being, you must first unlearn who you think you are. Many of the limits you believe in were inherited, passed down from your environment, from your past, from your doubts. These limits are not truths, they are beliefs, and beliefs can be changed through awareness and action. Each time you act beyond what you thought was possible, you loosen the grip of those old beliefs. You begin to see that the ceiling was never real. It was only a mirror reflecting back your own hesitation. The training of the body, the mind, and the spirit must happen together. If you train the body without training the mind, you become strong but restless. If you train the mind without training the body, you become wise but ungrounded. And if you train both but neglect the spirit, you move without depth. True growth is holistic. It touches every part of who you are. It brings balance, not just strength. It brings clarity, not just information. It brings inner stillness, not just outer performance. Stillness is often misunderstood. People think it means doing nothing, but stillness is a state of awareness. It is being fully present in what you are doing without being pulled by anxiety or distracted by noise. It is the ability to move with purpose and remain centered. This is not something you find in a book. It is something you cultivate through consistent practice, through mindful breathing, through deliberate movement, through conscious choice. Over time, stillness becomes your anchor. It keeps you steady when the world moves too fast. It keeps you grounded when emotions rise. It allows you to respond instead of react. And from this stillness, clarity arises. You begin to see what truly matters. You stop wasting energy on things that do not serve your growth. You start choosing the difficult path when you know it leads to strength. You begin to measure your days not by how easy they were, but by how aligned they were with your values. This is the mark of someone on the path, not that they never fall, but that they rise with awareness. Not that they never struggle, but that they struggle with purpose. Each day becomes a form of training, a way to move closer to your potential, a way to live with depth, discipline, and direction. So in the end, it is not about waiting for the right time, the perfect feeling, or external validation to begin. It is about choosing, again and again, to rise, to listen to the quiet strength within you, to trust the process even when the path is uncertain, to move with discipline when motivation fades. You are capable of amazing things not because life will always be easy, but because you are willing to become someone who grows through the difficulty. The power is already in you. The decision is yours, and the time is now.